The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
It's nice and quiet in here. What's up, everyone? Well, I thought that computers were stagnating just a tad in some areas. And any doubts that I might have once had about whether or not computer parts and the development of certain types of computer parts has stagnated, yeah, any remaining doubts are pretty much taken care of now. I am most certainly a believer. Unbelievable. Here I was thinking that with my return to real employment of some sort, that I could treat myself to some computer upgrades or build a new system. What do you know, the system I have still is a pretty decent system. And we're talking about a processor from 2010. So, best $245 I spent in the last couple of years, I guess. Let's turn our auto mode on this camera back on here. Come on, auto, turn on so it's not all blue when we're looking at a screen. Here's what I have in the Newegg cart so far. The case, the video card, and that's a free game or something. $354, add about $100 to that when I throw in a copy of Windows 7, probably Home Premium or something along those lines, to add to use for the other machines. So I've decided that I'm going to mix things up a bit, but I will not be building a new system, at least not entirely a new system. I'm going to be shuffling some hardware around, beginning with getting this case. This case, of course, runs off of 140mm fans, and of course it has the, not only does it have 140mm fans, but it's also simpler, and it has dust filters. One of the biggest annoyances that I've had with Tuxedo lately is no dust filters. So unless I want to buy some dust filters to add to this case somehow, no, forget it. So I will probably get this just to get some dust filters going. Asus GTX 760, $249 video card. Got to check to see if the extra power connector thing that's required to run this card, if my power supply has one of those, it requires an extra 8-pin connector. So I'm going to see if my power supply actually will support this thing. Otherwise, I might be looking at getting another power supply. So, what got me to come up with this rather maverick approach to computer upgrades at the last second like this? Well, Tom's Hardware's CPU and GPU hierarchies. I highly recommend this kind of stuff. This is kind of like a ballpark estimate of the performance of various generations of components. So, best gaming CPUs for the money, March 2014. The rule with these charts is in order for an upgrade to be a noticeable, significant upgrade, you want to move up at least 3 tiers on these charts. So where is the 1090T at? Not far from the top. There we are. 1090T Black Edition. Second tier down. So we, of course, as AMD doesn't have anything in the top tier right now, Intel's got a bunch of Core i's of various types that they've got up there, including the well-known 4770K, the i7 4770K that I keep hearing all these great things about. But when you consider what the last upgrade was, if I bought another processor right now per these charts, it wouldn't be that significant. So with the 1090T, after all these years, I'm still in the second to the top tier. By the way, a little thing to clear up from last time. The FX series of AMD processors are CPUs, not APUs. They don't have integrated graphic type stuff. The motherboards might have it, but not the FX chips. I've just been following AMD's attempts to differentiate themselves from Intel with this whole APU thing so long that I forgot. Before they started doing the A-series APUs and whatnot, they tried one last round of CPUs. So the Phenom 2, after the Phenom 2, it was the FX series, and then it was the APUs. So that's what the 8350 is part of, CPU only. Now, so we're second from the top here. The processor that I had before the Phenom 2 was a Core 2 Duo E6750, which is right down here. So, where's the E6? There it is. So, to go up to a Phenom 2 1090T from here was 1, 2, 3, 4 tiers up. So, obviously a noticeable upgrade, and I have noticed the difference in speed. Let's go looking for, is the Athlon 64 4000 on here? That was the processor I had before then. Athlon 64X2, no, I'm looking for the original Athlon 64. Athlon 64X2, Athlon X2, X2 6000, 5600, regular Athlon 64. Where is it? The Athlon 64 is off the bottom of this chart. 64. Oh, that's the dual core version though. I have the single core version. Athlon 64X2 4000 plus. No, I have the original Athlon 64 single core 4000 series weight. So it's off the bottom of this chart. So let's just imagine for a second that the Athlon 64 was down here. To go to the Core 2 Duo would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's the 6750? 5, 6, 7. 7 steps. So if I bought, if this chart can be taken at face value, and the whole 3 steps minimum for it to be a decent upgrade thing applies here, then any kind of upgrade, it wouldn't even feel like an upgrade from with how these tiers work. There's pretty much nothing on the market right now that's worth jumping to that would be as much of a jump as going from the E6750 to the 1090T was at this point. Maybe when AMD comes out with whatever they have after Pile Driver, I might reconsider. But for now, I think I'm just going to run what I have into the ground. And yeah, sure, the Core 2 Duo machine that I do the music with isn't all that great processor-wise these days, but I'm not exactly slamming the heck out of that system. So, CPUs, what a snooze. Oh, here I go rhyming again. You know, I thought that processors were stagnating a little ever since AMD stopped trying to really compete with Intel, and yeah, I guess so. Especially when I'm still seeing comparison articles between the FX 8350 and the Phenom 1090T, so whatever. Graphics cards, on the other hand, that's what we have here, are a little bit different. Graphics cards is probably, from the looks of these charts, it looks like the graphics cards would probably cause the biggest improvement, because I'm usually someone who gets like $100-something video cards, something like that, but it looks like the most significant upgrade I could get would come from a graphics card. Let's go down to where I am here. The Radeon that I have right now is a 6850. So there it is, a 6850. Now the graphics card that I've got my eye on is a GTX 760, so I would switch back to NVIDIA and go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers. Just got to make sure that my power supply will support the graphics card properly. So the same rules here. Same rules here, although there isn't as much hard data on the graphics cards for the Tom's Hardware charts as there is on the CPUs. Let's see what we got here. Similar performance levels, etc. What is it? Again, the three tiers rule. You want to go up at least 3 tiers, otherwise the performance increase might not even be noticeable. So, I'm thinking the biggest bang for buck thing that I could do is probably graphics card upgrade and maybe get a faster SSD. So I can move my current SSD to the other computer, or even get some cheap SSDs for the portables, because I'm not hardly using up too much room on the laptop and the netbook, so who knows? Anyways, so it looks like there's more bang for buck on the graphics card side of things than the CPU side of things. Time to shut off Tuxedo, pop open the case, and see if that 8-pin auxiliary graphics card connector is there. Otherwise, I gotta go power supply shopping as well. Wow, really? Already a little bit of dust showing up on these fans. One reason why I want to get a case with dust filters in it. Definitely need some dust filters. Rats. I'm looking at my auxiliary connectors here. I've got a ×4, I got a ×4, I got a couple ×6s. The closest I have to an 8-pin auxiliary power connector for video cards and stuff is this. 6-pin plus 2 extra. This isn't looking good. I think I'm going to have to go power supply shopping. Oh, there we go. Yeah, there's an auxiliary. Here's an 8-pin connector right here. And it's required for the motherboard. Shoot. Might need to get a power supply with 2 of these things. Oh, brother. Plug that back in. Oh, shoot. Can't do this one-handed. And suddenly it got dark as I pushed the thing back in. Watch the computer not even boot now. You know, I got the work light shining away like a you-know-what over there, and there we go. Alright, so the 8-pin is back in. So there's one 8-pin thing there. I just got to see if this red 6+2 will work as an 8-pin auxiliary connector for a video card. I think these red things were made... Oh, wait, what's this? There's one that's plugged. I think this is a 6-pinner. I think red, if I remember right, is color-coded for graphics cards, and then blue is for, this was a 6-pin one. This is a 6-pinner for extra power. So, shoot. I'm going to have to look up this power supply and see if this 6+2 can function as an 8-pin connector for a graphics card. I'm guessing that's what it's built for, but you can't take chances with these kinds of components. Hopefully it's keyed correctly and stuff. Gotta go digging through manuals now. Nuts. Go, Comrade Tuxedo. Do everything for the motherland. That was awful. Worst impersonation ever. So this kind of leaves me with a bit of a predicament here. So what am I going to do? What's the plan? First I'm going to hit the books and see what the situation is with that power supply. So what I'm intending on doing here is getting Tuxedo, getting a new case for this system. Get the case with the dust filters and the whole 9 yards. Put this hardware inside that case and reunite Tuxedo's original hardware with Tuxedo's original case, aka this thing. Sadly, it looks like Piano as we know it is going to be dismantled, but at least Tuxedo will be coming over here. This Tuxedo's original hardware will be reunited with Tuxedo's original case. That will become the new music machine, and since I don't run this as much, I don't expect it to really have too many issues with dust, despite not having any dust filters. Or I could get some third-party dust filters or something. Plus, cool, psychedelic fan already over here. No. So this motherboard actually has room for more RAM. So maybe get a cheap RAM kit for this thing. Nothing fancy. Certainly not something with heat spreaders going everywhere. Actually, I have better luck with regular RAM than I do with any kind of so-called gaming RAM or RAM with heat spreaders going every which way. I've actually had the heat spreader RAM die while the plain old-fashioned chips on a stick stuff like this just keeps going and going. By the way, Crucial Micron. Over 10 years, I don't think I've ever had one of these plain old-fashioned sticks of RAM ever die on me. Despite, it's always been the fancy stuff that's died. So, yeah, So I guess I'm going to ditch these stupid mid-tower cases. Actually, the reason why I never wound up using this case was because the reason why I wound up with this case on the secondary system. This was originally supposed to be Tuxedo's original case, but I got burned with a classic problem with looking at computer parts on the internet. Computer cases often look like they're sturdier and higher quality in the Newegg pictures than they actually are. So, yeah, so this would become Tuxedo again. We'll flip some drives around, and there's one more system whose fate needs to be determined. Those of you who've been following the channel for any respectable length of time are probably going to recognize this machine, or if you watch the retro reel. This is the case from the machine that I built for Dad back in a long time ago, actually. So, retro reel Thanksgiving 2006. Whew, smells like must. Maybe some pet dander got into this thing too, but so this disaster of an AMD system is basically, this is the computer, of course, I built for Dad. This runs an Athlon 64 4000 single core. This is my 2005 system. What I'm thinking of doing with this is, as you can tell, I haven't had very much luck with stupid doors on these cases. So, I think it's time to say goodbye to this case, and goodbye to mid-towers in general. What I'm looking at doing for this is, since my dad has had this case for a really long time, and he hasn't actually needed... It's been his backup computer for years, and he hasn't actually needed a backup computer. So what I'm thinking of doing is gutting this thing and shuffling some hardware around, and making this into a Linux box, because I have been curious about Linux for a long time, but I've never had a discrete computer that runs Linux to experiment with. Oh, what better computer than this thing? We can figure something out if my dad needs a backup computer in a pinch, but he had this thing for years and never used it. For whatever reason, he prefers a Celeron piece of junk e-machine running Vista with only 1 gig of RAM, I think, over this thing that I built for him. For whatever reason, he really loves that e-machine, so he can keep that e-machine. We're going to make something out of this. Make something worthwhile, too. Look, PCIe connector. At least this one has them labeled. Antec True Power 2. Of course, I'm sure it's more than enough power for this old piece of junk. So, let's see what we have for RAM here. Could I possibly upgrade the RAM in this thing, too? 3 out of 4 sticks full. Yeah, this one's running 1.5 gigs. Those are probably 512 meg sticks. We'd have to look it up. But, yeah. So I'm looking at saying goodbye to these mid-tower cases once and for all, and just going real tower cases. I have 2 cases that I'm thinking of putting this all into, and both of them are significantly better than this. A little torn on which one to use, though. Exhibit A, the nostalgic route. I would revive the Silver Bullet as a Linux machine running an Athlon 64 instead of an Athlon XP. So, I originally had to dismantle this computer in the 2000s because of the CPU, the motherboard coming down with capacitor plague. It's got a nice little window on it. Just got to find where the drive cages went, get all that dust out of there. Oof! I used to have intakes. And that's one of the problems with this thing. I got to take the whole front off to wipe that off and get that out of there. That's from the intake fans that this thing used to have. Yeah, 80mm fans. Back in the day, man. Early 2000s, before people started going nuts with these bigger fans and stuff. Yeah, 80mm fans. But this being an Athlon 64 system that I'm building, it would have lots of room. I'd probably put some hydraulic bearing 80mm fans in here, or some kind of liquid bearing to keep the noise down. And it would probably be quieter than the original, it would actually probably be notably quieter than the original hardware in this thing, because power supplies control fan speeds now. And so do motherboards. So we just use some 80mm fans, get this thing all cleaned and polished up, and then put the hardware in here. This is the nostalgic option that I have. Very seriously considering it too. Clean this sucker up, shine it up, put the Silver Bullet back in business. Because hey, this case it's the only case with the stupid little door on it where the door still works. So yeah, bring it on back as a Linux machine. Definitely an option. Although the stickers would certainly be out of date. Albatron, Athlon XP, Epix, Enermax. And now the practical and far, far heavier option. A steel Antec case originally used for Silver Bullet 2, which was the original name for my 2005 PC after I had to get rid of the Silver Bullet because of capacitor plague. It still has the Audigy drive from the Audigy that I used for about 10 years or so. 2002 to roughly 2012-ish or so, and then started messing with X-Files. I don't think I'd need this. I don't think I would really need this fan controller all that much, because power supplies now do what this thing used to do. It'd be fun to see if it still worked, though. This is the far heavier option, but at least the front USB is still in one piece, and everything else as well. Powered by Asus. Yeah, I screwed up with that decal. AMD Athlon 64 case badge. This would probably, yeah, it is going to come off. Put some new adhesive on that stuff, or just, for nostalgia's sake, just leave Athlon XP on there, even though it's wrong. Intel tax support back in the day with some honeycomb stuff for additional fans, and it's steel, so it's way heavier. That's an issue too, because this machine would probably be. Oh wait, I wonder if these would fit in the Silver Bullet. Put that one aside. We'll check it later. So yeah, this would be notably heavier. But one thing about this machine, whenever I finally get it built, is that it's going to. Is that a 60mm fan slot? I think it's an 80, but at least this has room for 120s, both on the sides and going out the back. Here's the side grill. Here's the side grills that are available. So yeah, this is more practical, but this case is much, much, much heavier. We're looking at this Linux machine actually. With this Linux machine, I'm actually looking at something, wanting to have something available that I can carry around. I want to have something available that is portable so I can move the Linux machine around, or if my dad has to, we would almost tipped. If my dad has to borrow a computer, the odds are he'd be borrowing this one. We'd throw some kind of Windows back onto it, or maybe get 7 for it finally. And, oh no, this ain't looking good. This thing is heavy. This thing is outrageously heavy. Ugh. Let's try one last thing with the silver bullet case before we call it a video here. Alright, back on the ground where it can serve as a nerdy nightstand. By the way, this used to have a door on the front that opened 270 degrees, went around the side. Cheap plastic piece of junk door broke off. Moment of truth time. These are steel drive cages, not aluminum, but wires don't get stuck in them. Yeah, the paint color is a little bit off, but it looks like we're in business here. Really gonna have to seriously think about bringing back the silver bullet now. Even the brass standoffs are still in there. Definitely got some stuff to think about. Here. And yeah. Ah, nice. This is what, Gigabyte P35. This would be for piano to bring it up so it could run Windows 7 around 4 gigs or so. Nice. So, yeah, I could probably easily, actually, it's interesting that I can still get RAM upgrades to some of these older systems, but, could actually still, I could not pay too much and actually I could make both of these machines Windows 7 ready if I really wanted to, but only, what's left of piano is going to be set for that. I'm just going to put a bunch of RAM in whatever, and just put a bunch of RAM in the Linux machine and just run Linux. So, yeah, needless to say, I've got some hardware shuffling to do. There will definitely be some hardware shuffling going on later this year, maybe even later this month. Really depends on when I want to start dropping the money for this kind of stuff. So, Tuxedo will become something else altogether, piano will become Tuxedo, and I'll probably I'm thinking of reviving the Silver Bullet as a Linux box. That would be awesome. But we'll figure that out. Take everything as it comes, and then cross these bridges when we get to them. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.